Hi, I'm here with Suzanne Ehlers, who is the president and CEO of Population Action International. I'd like to ask you a little bit about what you're doing here and the issues you're focused on.
Sure, great. Well, I'm from PAI. We're almost a 50-year-old organization, believe it or not, so even older than I am. We work on access to contraception, so the issue of family planning and reproductive health, which is a key piece of what Women Deliver is putting forward, but an even bigger piece of what FP 2020 is all about.
And can you explain a little bit about what is FP 2020 and what are your goals?
Well, it's an initiative that started last summer in July in London, and it was called the London Summit on Family Planning, kind of an effort by a number of big players and donors like the Gates Foundation and like UNFPA to put a new push behind this family planning agenda, and it's been enormously successful. Raised new money from donors, got some unbelievable commitments from developing country leaders who sort of know about the issue of family planning and reproductive health, but maybe hadn't been re-energized on it for a while. So we're trying to reach 120 million new women by 2020, so it's now called FP 2020, and we're involved as a partner. I'm helping co-lead one of the working groups around rights and empowerment because we believe that access to contraception is a human right.
So to reach 120 women by 2020, what are some of the tools that you're implementing to get there and some of the solutions?
Well, I think from a PAI perspective, we're doing a couple of things. We're continuing our long-standing work on donor governments, multilaterals, the sort of folks who have the money who are funding this agenda, and making sure that they're putting their money toward the most effective and kind of high-impact strategies, and helping maximize and amplify what they do and through all of our communications platforms. I think as advocates with some in-house research capacity, we're also trying to twin research and advocacy. We know a lot, there's a lot we don't know, but regardless, we're not always putting that stuff into the right hands of policymakers who are making funding decisions about this issue. So trying to make sure that anything that's done new around data, evidence, has the advocacy legs it needs to get where it needs to go to make a difference.
Oh, and then working on advocacy and trying to get the word out, are you engaging on social media at all? Are you trying to engage citizens around the world as well, in addition to reaching the policy leaders at the heads of government levels?
We are. I mean, we, like any typical NGO, is using social media in all the ways that we can for our own visibility and our own branding. But I think the most important kind of unique piece and way in which we're using social media is to reach new audiences. So I see family planning as such a cornerstone issue. So if you're working on water security, you should be interested in family planning. If you're working on climate change adaptation, sustainable development, broader environmental issues, microfinance, all of it in some ways is determined as to whether or not a woman has the ability and right to control her fertility, to decide how many children she wants. So we use social media really innovatively and creatively to reach those audiences that aren't PAI members. They don't know about us because they're not family planning types.
Yes.
And we help convince them that our agenda is their agenda and that we have sort of a shared vision for the world's well-being.
So you're kind of breaking the silos down, the arbitrary silos between all of these issues.
Yeah,
so,
arbitrary and irrational silos.
Absolutely. So for anyone that's watching this interview, how can they get involved? Can they start following PAI? And how can they get the tools that they need to help make a difference?
Well, on Twitter, they can follow PAI at @PopAct. They can follow me at Suzanne PAI. We've got a Facebook presence. We've got a really strong website. We're starting to do more and more on other, sort of different platforms of social media. They can also, I think, in their own daily life, they can just help people think about the interconnections between issues and the idea that you're a forest activist and you're microfinance and I'm women's health. We actually all three have a lot of stuff in common, and we need to think about how our agendas support and amplify each other's agendas because, again, donors and policymakers only have so much time in the day, and so the more that we put forward an integrated vision for good change, I think the better it happens.
It's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Thank you.